All right. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi. This is TSG Talking Trains Live with me
And me,
Michelle.
John and Michelle.
Yeah. We're live here. It's July 20th, about 4 p.m. Pacific time. I'm coming to you from San Jose, right from the Bay Area, California. It's kind of warm here today. So if I look sweaty, it's probably because I am.
It was hot here today too. It's been like 103 in Colorado recently.
Yeah, but you know what they say, Michelle? It's a dry heat. So that's
It's dry heat.
Yeah.
It still makes the car like a furnace. So.
Yeah. No, I know all about dry heat. I went to Arizona when I was a kid. It was like 115 degrees, and we tried to walk on the sidewalk to get to the swimming pool. That was not fun.
No.
So we have a pretty good show, I think, lined up for people today. We're going to be talking to our mutual friend Al Hovey from New Mexico. We're going to be talking about something that is near and dear to our hearts for sure.
That all of us worked together on. Yeah, I'm excited.
We did, right? That's the only reason why I know Al is because of the work that we are hopefully going to progress on here about helping get kids into the hobby of model railroading. I think it's worthwhile. So I thought when Al offered to talk about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
That's a really good idea. And Al has brought so much to youth in the hobby. Before we even had youth programs at the museum, Al's the one who helped us understand what to do and how to do it. So I can thank Al for everything that we do as the motivation and the inspiration behind it.
Wow, I'm not even sure I knew that. So congratulations to Al for that. Well, yeah. We can sit here and talk about Al, or we can sit here and talk to
Bring
Al.
him on.
Maybe we should bring him on. Let's see if this thing works. Hey, there he is.
There he is. Hello, John and Michelle.
Hello.
Welcome, Al. Yeah, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
You bet. Enjoy.
So we want to talk all about something that all three of us are very passionate about. And also someone's off camera over here is also passionate about it. That's our super top secret associate producer.
And organizer of all things for tracks.
Right?
Awesome. Yeah.
Organizers of everything.
It's all organized.
So, so I know now one of the things I want to mention was when Michelle told me about you, Al, 4 years or whatever it was ago when we started our first conversation there in Greeley about youth in the hobby. She mentioned that you had a program that you were running in New Mexico, where you're from. And I thought that was a really cool thing, that someone was already out there doing things that make a difference. So I'm hoping that you'll talk to us about that.
I certainly will, John. I thought I'd start out with just a little personal background on myself. I was born and raised an Iowa farm boy. And about year 8, 9, 10, somewhere along in there, at Thanksgiving time, I came down with the measles, the mumps, or some childhood disease. And in those days, you did not go back to school for about 2 or 3 weeks. So my parents were saying to themselves, what do we do with him? Because I was the only child at the time. And one afternoon in the middle of the winter, or I should say around Thanksgiving, my dad went to town and came home and carried a 4x8 sheet of plywood into the middle of our living room at home. And then my parents disappeared into their bedroom, and what they were doing is wrapping a Lionel train set. They brought that out, and that's what got me started in model railroading, very, very simply. At that time, there were absolutely no clubs that I knew, and I did not know anybody in the area that was into model railroading. So the Lionel training set was it. Well, 45 years went by, and I ended up in New Mexico with my wife. And after a year of starting a new sales territory and working my butt off, I found a local train store and hooked up with some people and ended up being building a layout. And we were living on the west side of Albuquerque at that time. got that going fairly well. Got it to the point of Plywood Central, and then moved to the east side and ended up having some people that mentored me and got me going. And I've got a very beautiful 9 by 16 foot layout in the garage right now.
He does. I've seen it. It's really nice.
Thank you. So what happened is, as I approached retirement a year or two prior, I was thinking about what am I going to do in retirement? And one of the things I wanted to do is mentor kids. And secondly, I wanted to do more in my hobby. And finally dawned on me one day, why not blend the two together? And I went to work with some local modelers, and we formed the club. And at that time, we called it the Rio Grande Model Railroad Club. And we started out with just 3 boys. That was 2014. Well, just prior to the pandemic, we got up to 40. And on any given second Saturday of the month when we had meetings, we had 22 to 28 boys and girls at that time. So things were rolling very, very well. Then COVID came along and we got knocked back to about half the membership, and we're rebuilding now. So that's kind of my personal background as far as model railroading is concerned. Just prior to going on the air, Michelle said, what was it? Old style.
I called you old school Al.
Old school Al. Well, I'm going to encourage you, for anybody watching, you might want to grab your phone so that you can use your camera, because here is my contact information.
You have to hold it higher because we can't see. There you go.
Here, what if I make it bigger too? Watch this. Oh, how come it's not going bigger? I'm trying to make it bigger.
Make him the bigger one. Okay,
Yeah,
so there's Al Hovey. Al Hovey at Comcast.net. 505-459-8087. And
old school Al.
Yeah, put it up again, because I think our super secret person is going to transcribe that into our chat.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, and that way it'll stay in chat.
Right? How about that?
Al's super responsive too. Every time I email you, you email me right back. So you're not too old school because you do know how to email.
Okay. Right.
Well, also
about motivation. Why did we get started?
I talked to Al on his cell phone today too, so I was very excited about that. That's pretty modern.
All right, sorry, Al. Let's go through your
Motivation for working with kids and parents. Number one, think in terms of, if you're going to form a model railroad club for kids, think in terms strictly of a family activity. The parents are 100% active along with the side of the kids. That way you've got no insurance issues and all these types of things and legality issues, that type of thing today. I learned that from Larry Price, and I'm going to come back and talk about Larry just shortly. But the number one thing is just plain have fun and teach this. Here we go.
There we go.
Yeah, we can read that one.
That's a good one. Model railroading is fun.
Absolutely. Number two, we like to teach basic skills so that eventually the kids can evolve into modeling themselves, just like we have, if you will, in the future. And one of the big things right now that they're doing is YouTube. I had one boy who was 12 years old install a decoder in an old HODC locomotive all on his own. And I thought, well, I haven't even done that. So how about that?
That's awesome.
Number three is teach good manners and respect. And we hammer that really, really hard. We teach the kids how to walk up to anybody and look them in the eye, shake their hand, say thank you. We get a lot of donations from various people in the community, and that's how we fund our club, basically. But anyway, one of the things we do at a meeting is we actually lay out thank you cards that say some type of message, thank you for your donation. And we make sure that every child and every adult signs the card and sends it. And the kids
What a great life lesson. That's teaching good life lessons.
Yes, and the kids are very proud of that they do that. And I usually, a lot of times I get feedback from the people that receive the thank you cards, and then I pass that along at the next meeting. That helps reinforce too. The big thing here is that people this day and age are talking about, worrying about this all the time. If you offer a good model railroad program and meeting, the kids love it. They love hands-on activities. I've had many a kid out in my garage building layouts and learning how to use a drill, a tape measure, and all the woodworking skills, hammering nails, and all those types of things. They absolutely love it. And the parents love seeing the kids involved in something other than doing this all the time. So that's a nice side part of it. So the question is, how do you lay the groundwork to start a model railroad club? And one of the things that John, Michelle, and some other people, we put together a book, 3-ring binder called Tracks to Success. And what it is it's got ideas from about 4 or 5 different people that have worked with kids. And you absolutely do not have to start from scratch. We have invented the wheel. And as just one example, we have a letter from our club to the parents telling them what to expect at meetings and what our policies are and so forth. And you could simply take our letter, put your name on it, change whatever you want to change for your local situation, and run with it. You do not have to start from scratch. We've got people that can help you. One of the persons that I would recommend talking to, let's see if I got the right one, is Larry Price in Denver. Larry Price has been working with kids for over 25 years. His program is called Youth in Model Railroading. It's a wonderful program. He's had tremendous successes, not only with modeling, but actually some of his youth that have participated are actually working in the railroad industry today. So here is Larry's contact information.
They call him Mr. Conductor.
Yeah, should I make it bigger? I have to figure out how to. Oh, I put the wrong person big.
John's. Oh, there we go.
Hey,
so, Larry Price.
There we go.
So we've had quite a few youth that came from our museum that went to Youth in Model Railroading, and they had just wonderful things to say about it. They all had a good time. They said they had fun, which is really important. But Larry Price was honored yesterday.
Yes.
With the award from the Hobby Manufacturers Association from the HMA. Is that right? HMA? Did I get that right? I might have got that wrong. But on our local 9 news here in Denver, he was totally featured last night as a huge feature story on the news. It was really cool.
Fantastic. He deserves the recognition. Well done. Another person that will help you is Blaine Holbrook in Salt Lake City area. Here's Blaine's information.
a little
higher.
Because we have a question on the screen. We'll have to need to answer this question too. So this is Blaine. Blaine's in Salt Lake City, and he has so many kids. I think they're just bursting at the seams with kids working in their programs.
Absolutely. He works with pizza layouts, and some of you may or may not know what that is.
I'm going to answer this question really quick. In every program involving youth in the hobby, the parents must be present.
Yes.
Oh, right.
To answer Sparky's question, parents have to be present. It's a liability issue. It helps with insurance and things like that. It's a must. And Al's got a pizza layout in his hand.
Oh, I should make it big again.
A layout that is 2 foot square. It's got N scale track on it. And this particular one happens to be the one that we use when we go to train shows because it is an active volcano.
That's awesome.
Be not too close when it goes off because you might get burned by the lava. But what you can see on the end here is we simply stuck in a 3/4 inch piece of copper tubing, and then right in the center of the layout is a 90-degree elbow. Inside is nothing more than a 12 or 16 ounce cup from Wendy's, and we fill that up with chaff out of a shredder, and we hook the hose up to a vacuum shop vac, and when you switch, you have shredded paper goes 6 to 8 feet tall into the area.
What a
That's
mess.
awesome.
Yeah.
You know, every kid's wanted to do that in their life.
Kids actually built most of this.
I've seen some really cool pizza layouts. We call them
Absolutely.
pizza layouts because they're kind of the size of a big pizza box.
Yep, exactly right. Blaine is Mr. Pizza Layout Man, so call him or text him or whatever you want to do.
Did you see
Al,
the
can
question?
you read the question on the screen? Can you see that,
Okay.
Al, on the screen?
What type of space do you use? We actually are in the church as well. I think Larry is. And do you use a classroom or a common area? We use the common area. And we set up our layout, and we also have individual tables where there are clinic sessions going on. Yep.
Cool. Hey,
All right.
Michelle, I muted you because I think when your AC comes on, it started causing a problem with the feedback. So, here's a really important question.
Okay.
I want to bring up here. Which type of toppings make the best pizza layout?
Actually, I challenged a couple of my kids that they should actually make what looks like a pizza as the way they've seen it. Haven't done it. Nobody's done it yet, but that was an idea. A couple weeks ago in the Albuquerque Journal, it was
Isn't it funny? Yeah, isn't it funny how you have to figure out where the camera is when you do that?
There was an article that says students want more art education in APS, which is Albuquerque Public Schools. What the pizza layouts are model railroad and art projects. Think of the scenery work as an art project. Blaine has probably half, if not a higher percentage of girls involved in the pizza layouts than boys. And traditionally, it's been a boy-man hobby. He's blown that completely out of the air. So that's the thought there. But the long and the short of it is that kids everywhere are not getting the art projects that they would like, the art classes. And our model railroad pizza layouts actually meet that. Another thing that I recommend when you're doing the switch or the pizza layouts is to actually have a switching layout on the side or a model railroad layout, like a 4x8 or something like that. Because we've got the kids there, they're working on projects, and now's the time to set the hook and let them actually run trains. So I always say pizza layouts are great, actually great attention getters, but get those model railroads actually running too. Mm-hmm. Now, if you don't have anything else going right now as far as an active club or something like that, Walthers offer 2 great programs that you can actually do at home with children. And one is called the Build-A-World, and it's a family activity. It's a 1 foot by 2 foot project. So those can actually be done and shoved under a bed or put up on a shelf. Room is not an issue. They have 3 different modules that are available right now. One is called the American Farmstead, which is a farm scene. One is called Main Street America, which is buildings and roads. And the other one is called the Northwoods Retreat, which is kind of like a mountain or hill retreat with trees and all that type of thing. In the spring, Walthers offers what they call the National Model Railroad Build-Off Program. I think that starts, or at least you get information about the 1st of March. And then one of those categories is actually specifically aimed at youth, and it's called the Youth HO or N Scale module. So there's 2 great projects that can be done at home with families and could be incorporated into a model railroad program. Okay, one other project that we've done, and I've got to bring that forward.
While he's getting that, I want to mention that we had Karen from Walthers on the show here a few months ago talking about that Build-A-World thing. So if anybody's interested in looking for that, you can find it on a replay of this very show. And what's this one, Al? This is a module of some sort?
Yes, it's a 3 foot module. when we have a child that is obviously showing considerable interest in model railroading, we give them a blank module, and then they have to learn how to put down the track, do the wiring. And we're using simple automotive connectors on the track, and then they, along with their parents, will do the scenery work. And we do the desert scene or desert type scenery on all the modules, because that's what the kids know in this area. A lot of them have never seen the upper Midwest or any place where it's actually green.
And those modules can be smaller or longer, like
They're all 3 foot.
Or yours all 3 foot? Okay.
They're all 3 foot. And then we go to a show and we hook them together and run trains. And it's great. Got a double track main line, got a yards on 2 corners and so forth. This was actually a project that Tad Stanley and John Moore, 2 of my adult modelers, came up with and started, and it's just been terrific. Tad has the diagrams as far as being able to share those with anybody that might be interested in doing it across the country.
So those are not standard T-track as such. They're your design. Okay.
They're regular HO modules.
Mm-hmm.
Another
because they're HO. Yeah. Okay.
Is we do a lot of building car kits and things of that nature. We actually go to Harbor Freight and we buy $6 toolboxes. And then we give the kids some basic small screwdrivers, tape measures, variety of tools, maybe screw cutters, things like that. That's what it looks like.
I wasn't aware that Harbor Freight has small tools like that. That's good to know.
Not so much on small tools. John, for instance, I buy some scissors, tape measures, the little click-on lights so that you have good lighting and so forth. But on top here, there's a place where you can put couplers and washers and all that type of thing. Kids love it. And my attitude is, if you're going to teach a kid how to use tools to build a car kit, you got to send him home with the tools. Otherwise, it's kind of not meaningful to actually go through and do the project.
So I would say that is a great way for people to sponsor youth programs right there, help fund the toolboxes. That's a great thing that a business could do or an individual could do for their local youth programs.
I go to Harbor Freight because they're cheap.
Right? Yeah.
You know, I think there's something to learn right there too, an opportunity here. Pro tip, right? Harbor Freight has cheap tools, so you don't have to invest a ton of money, but to get started, right? But if you find that you really enjoy the working with the tools and all that, you can always get higher quality, more expensive tools after that.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like buying the junk out of the box at the train show in order to practice weathering, right? You don't want to do your weathering on your expensive models. You want to try it first. Same thing with tools.
Exactly. Yep. I think the biggest thing to recognize or to realize, if you would, in starting a program for youth, that we all bring certain experiences and backgrounds and knowledge of the hobby. There are so many phases of the hobby today. Don't worry about modeling a program after mine or somebody else's. My program here in Albuquerque is different than Larry's in Denver. It's different than Blaine's in Salt Lake City, but we're all meeting the needs of kids. We're offering a wholesome family activity. Parents are involved 100% of the way. We offer creative and fun activities for the kids, and they love it. We teach, and we work on the premise of model railroading is fun.
Excellent.
You bet.
Well, and my hat goes off to you for being out there and doing this. You know, I mean, this is something that we've talked about this endlessly on this program. about all of the facets of model railroading, from woodworking to planning to drawing to art to electronics to just name it. There, everything is there. Research, history, everything's there.
Yes.
And I think that by giving kids a place to start learning about it early on and getting that hook, as you call it, in there, I think you're doing a great service to your local community. And that, that sends, what do they call it? Waves in the pond or ripples in the pond, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
and
Extremely
another
fine.
one thing that Al helped us start with, because my board and we talked about youth programs like for 3 years and just talked about it. We need youth programs. Oh yeah, we need youth programs. Yeah, let's do some youth programs. We need, and not having a clue really what to do until Al shows up and says, "Well, you just do it."
That's right.
so you got to actually take just step one and do it. So, but one thing we started with were those Woodland Scenics kits that are available for train shows and nonprofits.
Absolutely.
And it's a little hill.
Yes. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. Stuff's out there.
Yeah.
We have
It's
any
out
questions?
I love it.
Thanks, Al. Thanks for giving us an overview too, so people can see there's different types of things to do and who to contact, because you guys are available. And we have a group with Larry, Blaine, Al, John and Sydney, me, and Karen from Miko from Walters, and we call it TRACS, Teaching and Resources. Let's see if I can get it right. Teaching, Resources, and Curriculum for, what's
Kids?
this? No, wait, TR. So it's Teaching Resources. And no, we wrote it out, didn't we? Well, we called it TRACS. We have an acronym for TRACS. I'm just not remembering it. Teaching Resources and Curriculum for Kids in STEAM. There we go. I just see the word.
Yes.
Something that I think is really good about that too is, well, okay, so what happened was we had planned to get together in April of 2020, I think it was. And
Yeah.
what else happened early in 2020?
Well, in March, we kind of had COVID.
Yeah, everything got shut down and we weren't even able to travel at all. So we got a little sidetracked, no pun intended, on our progress.
But we're getting back on
we're
track.
going to be talking in a few days. We're having a little meeting. So hopefully we'll see you on that too, Al.
Okay, we got a question here. Any thoughts
Yeah.
how to approach creating an in-school elective style class? Actually, Norm Wolstein did exactly that in Greeley. Do you know the background?
Yeah, so there's a lot of kinds of different schools out there now. I don't know if other public schools are designed like ours, but our public school system has some charter schools, and we have one down the street called the School of Innovation, and they have an hour every day where they just focus on something interesting and creative for kids. So they have this like creative hour. And so we called the school and we said, hey, we're a model train museum and we've never really worked with kids in a school, but we like to try it. Got any ideas? And they said, we have this creative hour. This would be great. And so we started going every day for 12 weeks. We went for that 1 hour, which was a lot, but we did different age groups for like 3 weeks. And we built big Woodland Scenics kits. And they loved it so much, we went back twice. And then we've done after school programming. So the other thing you can do for schools that don't have that time for elective classes is an after school program. And usually you'll find a teacher that's really interested in STEM programming who would be interested in working with you. They're usually totally would love to do this stuff. They just don't know how.
Yes.
And so from the teacher side, you would be a blessing if you called and said, hey, I have an idea for an after school program or for a class project. Because you could also you could do a class project that's like 1 or 2 weeks long and build a small layout as a group, or do individual scenery things, all sorts of stuff. Build a car kit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways to work with schools.
As a matter of fact, I met a guy named Jeff Allen who he lives out here in the Bay Area. He teaches at a private school, and I think it's 3rd grade and 4th grade. And one of the school or the class projects is to build a layout. And I think he has the kids design the whole thing and plan it and all that. So the cool thing about it is, and this is a Jedi mind trick, if you will, about teaching. And this goes back to, psychology 101, really, which is if the people that are learning stuff are doing it by being engaged in something that they really enjoy, that they love to do, they never even realize they're learning. So teaching is like easy, because the kids are interested in what they're doing, and they will learn how to add and subtract and multiply and divide and all whatever stuff they need to do in order to make something work. Well, they just learned it and they didn't even know that they learned it.
Right.
And there's something else about building the parts of your brain that contribute to critical thought processes, right? Logical thought processes. Same thing. They learn that without even realizing they're learning it. And then those get applied naturally because they are now in the toolbox of your brain. So, there's so much I think that is beneficial by doing these things, that it's like a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I was thinking all kinds of questions about charter school. Let me explain it. In Colorado, there's a law that if you put together a school charter for something you really want, and it's approved by the state, you can have public tax dollars to fund a charter school. It's considered a public school. It just has a specific focus. But it's kind of like private school also. So hope that answers that question. And no, they don't just use charts. I saw that.
Oh, that would be a chart school.
That was good. I'm watching the chat. That was funny.
One thought I missed in my presentation today is as fall starts, that's when the train shows start cranking up. And if you would go to the train show with a volcano pizza layout and have that blast every 5 minutes or something like that, you're going to have more kids in front of you, and all you do is grab their contact information. The positive things there is that usually the parent or the grandparents or somebody is with them. They see that the kid is interested, and you go from there. Get the contact information and call your first meeting. You go.
Yep. We have a Lego trade set. LGB makes Lego decks cars for G Scale. And we have a big set of that we take out with just tubs of Legos. And kids have so much fun just building whatever, or we can theme it and have them build something specific on a theme. So it can work in many educational ways. It's really fun. So.
Absolutely. We got some ideas for you. All you have to do is contact us and we'll go to work.
Right?
Yep. Al is full. I might have called him old school Al, but honestly, he's super ahead of the game when it comes to ideas.
This is reminding me, Michelle. Do you remember a few months ago, we also had those folks on from Fresno State University that were doing a whole thing about developing. That's one that I don't know if you're aware of this, Al, but did we talk about that? I don't remember it because we haven't talked that much lately.
Right.
But we had some people from Fresno State University on. They have a whole program of developing or building a plan, like it's like a business plan for a railroad. And depending what grade level the participants are in, it could be as simple as just building a little layout with destination points and a track in between, like for the really, that's like my grade level, up to, planning for real estate purchases or eminent domain stakes and all this other stuff for the college age kids that, or I should say college age students, because they're not all kids, obviously. But it sounded like, because it's scalable, right? It sounded like a really cool program. And
it's fun. And they use a map of California as kind of the module, and they put their track on it. They actually physically put track on this giant map they have, which is super cool.
Yep. So. I thought so. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Al. This was great to talk about. If you're motivating me, I'm going to go write our agenda for our meeting.
Take care.
Thanks, Al. Take care.
Thanks, Al. Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Al is the best. I have to say, he's truly just an amazing human, and I'm proud. I'm just so honored to be his friend. So,
yeah, I always like talking to Al because we always end up laughing or, smiling about something. Yeah. So
he's so fun.
There's people, they talk about, when he walks into the room lights up. Well, I think Al's one of those guys.
He is one of those people.
Yeah. Anyway, that's great. So we have some other stuff to talk about this month. So I don't tend to on the channel talk about plans, right, that we have, depending what it is. But this was one of those things that we didn't really talk about this on the lead up to it. But we had a little adventure a couple weeks
Just
ago.
a little one.
Yeah, just a small adventure. And we're going to talk about that because we did a lot of stuff. I'm going to preface this whole thing by mentioning, if you watch this channel, you know that I've changed the way I do my monthly podcast a little bit, right? I've gone to, instead of standing in front of the camera or sitting in front of the camera and talking about everything that I did, I will film little snippets all month. Like today I'm going to go do this. And then at the end, I'm like, here's what happened. And I'll show pictures or whatever. I found that it feels a little bit more interactive. And I've had actually a lot of nice feedback. Now, I say all this because I did that for this epic adventure that we had earlier this month. And I've been working on, because I know it's going to be a huge podcast this month, I've been working on it as the month progresses. Usually I just wait till the end and I put it all together in that week. I call it podcast week. That's the week leading up to the first Saturday of the month. This time I've been working on it because I don't want to wait until it's going to be this huge, humongous, impossible task. It's already an hour long and we're only halfway, a little more than halfway through the month, and I'm still doing more stuff this month. So we did a lot of stuff.
I took over 4,000 photos.
Oh, just on the trip. What? But did that include the trip after you left here, or did
No, that was before I went back to Sacramento.
Oh boy!
But that included my Amtrak trip too. There was a lot of photos on those 2 days. But
Right.
yeah.
Well, so what I'd like to do then is two things. I have a little slideshow that I put together to sort of talk about this, and we have some people calling in. Well, actually, one of these people calling in, I didn't expect him to call in, but we'll bring him up. And we have another person calling in that I did expect, and we'll bring him up when we get to his part
Okay.
of our adventure. So let's bring this up here. So the answer to the question is, and actually I'm gonna bring up Alvin since he was on this adventure.
Oh boy. Okay.
Right? So the answer to the question is, the epic trip of 2022 is just what I'm calling it. You might have a different name for it, Michelle, because you do a lot of epic trips.
Well,
But,
this one was kind of my big trip for this year. It was.
Yeah. The idea behind this was a few months ago, Union Pacific announced that the big boy was going to come over Donner Pass, go up to Portland, and then go back to Cheyenne through Idaho. So we're like, oh, we need to go chase that because we could chase it over Donner Pass and follow it to Portland. So that's what we planned, right? It was going to be this epic 13-day or 15-day thing, a lot like the epic trip that I took with Alvin and Gary last year, going through California, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, all the way back. Well, then I guess Alvin and Michelle bought tickets on Amtrak because they wanted to make it a really trainy trip.
Well, I thought I might as well go out there on Amtrak. I've always wanted to go over Donner Pass on Amtrak. And since I was traveling alone, I was like, I'm taking the train.
Right? So as soon as, as soon as Alvin heard that Michelle was going to take the train, he thought, he'll take the train.
He'll take the train. For one thing, let me tell you this. The train from Denver to Sacramento was $126. And to fly was like 200 and something. So I'm like, well, it makes sense to take the train. All it takes is time.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to have time to take the train.
Yeah.
And I did. For once, I actually had time. So
yeah,
I think Alvin's frozen. His video.
I was going to say that I'm going to take him back off, and he'll probably call back in.
Call back.
Yeah.
So the plan was Alvin would get on in Salt Lake City at 11 p.m. and then I wouldn't because that price I said, the $126 is coach overnight and into the next day. And so Alvin was going to get on in Salt Lake City. And then I was super excited because I wouldn't be alone like all through the night in coach seats. So
Right.
would know somebody.
Right. You had to have someone there to make sure in case something happened, you could kick their butt.
Right.
Yeah. So that
Which
that
Amtrak was fine, by the way. I never was worried.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm just kidding, obviously. Right. So anyway, after they got their Amtrak tickets, Union Pacific came out and said, well, now we're not going to have the big boy trip. So we're like, okay, now what?
I didn't buy the Amtrak insurance either. So I was like, I got to take this trip or lose the money. So,
So in the meantime, before we heard from Union Pacific, I started getting busy. I'm like, oh, well, people are going to be visiting. So we have to do a bunch of stuff that's train related. So I talked with a bunch of people that I know in the various places that I know people and set up all these really cool little excursions to go check things out for the out of town visitors, right? This is something that I do every so often. Someone on
it was wonderful.
Well, we'll get to that.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, every so often, someone from the TSG train crew, that's what I call the people that are signed up as patrons on Patreon, come out to visit. And well, what do you do? When somebody comes out to visit, we have a lot of stuff in the area, I guess the region that I live, that's train related. So I set up a whole bunch of cool stuff. First, just around Sacramento, because that was the original plan. The big boy was going to come over Donner Pass. It was going to lay over in Roseville for, I think, 2 or 3 days, which gave us a few days to go and check out the stuff around Sacramento. So once they canceled their big boy trip, we're like, oh, well, now we're not going to go up to Portland. So we had to cancel all the stuff that was going up that direction. And I guess, I don't know if I decided or we decided or who decided, but we took the party from Sacramento out to the Bay Area and finished off the other, few days with Bay Area.
I think you said, Michelle, would you like to ride a train? And I went, yes. And so we went to the Bay Area.
Right. That's all it took. Right. So I put together this little slideshow to sort of talk about the various things that we did on this trip. And I want to preface this whole sort of slideshow presentation thing with all of the stuff that you're about to see. I am going to talk about in a little bit more detail on the podcast at the beginning of next month. I think it's like August 1st or 2nd or 7th. I don't remember. Whatever the first Saturday is in August. Oh, actually, I have it right here. August 6th. Sorry. Or I can do it Al style.
Yeah, I like that.
Al, I can see Al laughing. He's at the backstage.
I like that.
His ass off right now. But anyway, so there's going to be a little bit of detail gone into on the podcast coming up. And then there's going to be even more detail because I'm turning all but one day into Chasing Trains episodes. So the Chasing Trains episodes are going to be the most fun. So with that, Alvin, do you want to say anything before I start the slideshow?
No, I'm okay.
Or are you going to just?
I'm just going to say that Alvin and I finally got there on Amtrak. We were only 9.5 hours late.
Well, I was only an hour late.
That's true.
Because
he got to sleep in his bed all night because we were so late.
Nice. Oh man! There. So it was supposed to show up in Salt Lake at 11, but it showed up at 8 or 7 in the morning. So, I mean, I wasn't mad. And we got there an hour later than like the time it normally takes to get there was only like an hour later than what it should have been.
And after we were all the lateness happened before Salt Lake City is really what he's trying to say.
Yes.
We were super late. And shout out to Gary for picking us up at 11:15 p.m.
and giving me some hot dogs when I got to his house.
So that's the preface to waking up the next morning and being ready to go at 7 a.m. because that's how you rail fan.
Yep.
So
yeah.
Here we go.
The whole rail fanning thing is just go. It's not easy. Yeah. So anyway, this is a shot from the Roseville yard. This is just a yard switcher. I think that's what they were using this for. It's like an old GP38 or something. Maybe a -2. I don't know. Probably -2. And this is from the day before when you guys came into town. We actually went to Gary's house and had a little operating session. And Gary has actually a nice little operating layout in his garage. And one of the cool things about it is Gary actually worked for the railroad for 20 some odd years. So he understands how to lay track and make it work so that it's functional. And his op session is actually a very fun op session. It's just everything that you expect to do that's fun in an op session, switching stuff, delivering stuff, set outs, pickups, whatever. And so the person on the far left is Gary, obviously. The person in the middle there is our friend James. And you've seen James on the channel before. I know him from Silicon Valley Lines. James actually is, I consider James kind of a success story. He's a great guy and a good friend. And when I say success story, he actually heard about Silicon Valley Lines through the layout tour video that I did on this channel. And he's their current president right now at Silicon Valley Lines. I think that's really cool. Like, he wouldn't have even known about Silicon Valley Lines if he hadn't seen the video. And he liked what they did so much that he decided to join and ended up being the president.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I'm really proud about that. Proud of him for doing it, and also proud that we were able to make that connection. So we didn't get to see, Sydney and I didn't get to see Alvin and Michelle on the 6th when you rolled into town because it was so late. But we did see on the 7th when we went to Portola. And this is one of those things that kind of, well, I'm going to bring Ethan on because he's from Portola. Let me add him to our stream here.
I want to say that this was on my must do because we run Western Pacific on our layout, and I really wanted to see this.
Yes. Hi, Ethan.
Hi, Ethan.
Hi, Don. Hi, Michelle. Alvin.
What about? Yeah, I was going to say, what about Alvin?
Yeah.
Ethan doesn't look as big on camera as he does in real life.
Yeah, Ethan's really tall.
Yeah, Ethan's like 8 feet tall, and like, you know, he looks like a bouncer. Actually, he's the bouncer at the Western Pacific Museum. Don't mess around because he'll throw you off the property. Yeah. Anyway, so the sort of the genesis behind this was Ethan is on train crew, and Ethan's been sending in catch of the month photos from Portola for probably the last year. I'm guessing something like that. I haven't really kept.
November, December was the first time, I think.
Okay, so about the past 6 or 8 months.
Yeah.
And I found out because of these catch of the month. In case you don't know, catch of the month is a thing on the podcast that I mentioned a minute ago, where people can send in their train shots, and I share it on the podcast. Again, as a way to be more interactive. And I knew that Ethan was volunteering there, so I contacted him, and I'm like, hey, it seems like you spend a lot of time up there. And so we talked, and I told him that Michelle wanted to come out and operate the locomotive. They have what do you guys call that, Ethan? Is it be the engineer or drive a locomotive?
Run a locomotive.
Run a locomotive.
Run a locomotive. See, I went to the website and I found the run a locomotive option long before we actually planned. And I was like, I'm doing this. And so I called and I said, hey, I want to run a Western Pacific switcher. And she's like, are you sure you don't want to run the one that costs a little? I'm like, nope, it has to be Western Pacific. so I had it all arranged.
Right. So anyway, we went to the Portola, the Western Pacific Museum in Portola on July 7th. And there's some pictures that I took there. This is one of the few places where you can go see a Centennial. That's the DDA-40X locomotives that Union Pacific had built by EMD, got a while back. They ended up not working out because it was just a little too big of an engine. And I have a pet peeve. I'm just going to mention this. It's DDA-40X, not DD-40AX. A lot of people like to call them DD-40AXs. I don't know why, but They also call them, I think, just DD40X or something like that. But please get it right. Ethan's laughing at me right now. This is just my OCD exhibiting itself. But if you look in the top right, you can see our super top secret producer. She probably thought she was operating the locomotive there, but that's actually the fireman side. But that's okay. She was having fun. You could see that she's actually smiling there.
She looks great.
Yeah. And then the switcher here at the bottom is not the one that Michelle ran. That's a different one.
I want the green one.
Yeah, we're getting to it. But I wanted to include it because I think I've included enough variety of pictures in here to give people an idea of what's at this museum. And I wanted to show these pictures because Portola is kind of out of the way, but it's very much worth going to because look at the cool stuff they have. They have that Centennial I just mentioned a minute ago. There's a ton of equipment on the property, and they just recently finished getting this 060 operational. And since you're here, Ethan, do you want to talk about that a little bit, the 165?
Oh yeah, like John said, it's operational now. We've been restoring it since 2007, so we're all finally glad to have it up and running again. For how long she's been asleep, she's been running pretty well. There's the usual things here and there that are happening. Like shaking soot and crap out of the steam piping to the cylinders, so that's why the cylinder cocks keep getting stuck open because they get full of crap. But she's been running around. We ran her for the public 4th of July weekend. She'll be running Labor Day weekend again for Saturday and Sunday. And to answer Matt's question, it is going to be a part of the REL program. There's some slots on the days that it'll be running that are available. I think they're still working on some of the aspects of how to advertise it and all that stuff. So it's there. We're kind of working on getting the kinks out of it right now. So.
Well, just so you know, Ethan, in the future, when they're ready to start operating this thing for the public as the run a locomotive thing, I know a guy with a YouTube channel that could publicize it pretty well.
Gee, I wonder who that could be.
Probably all he would ask for is to get to be one of the people that gets to do it. If I know him, that's probably what he'll want. Anyway, just an idea. So we got to climb around on this thing. It's a really cool engine. I think when I was in Portola 6 or so years ago, it was being worked on, and I believe it was over. If you look on the left side of the pictures there's a Kodachrome locomotive sitting there. And when I was there 6 or so years ago, that Kodachrome locomotive was the one that was being run a locomotive. And then the 165, I think, was parked over on that track. And they showed it to us when we were there and said, this is something we want to get running someday. And lo and behold, it's now running. So it's really cool to see that kind of progress, especially in the short amount of time, between then and now. So
yeah, I think about the time you came last time, she hadn't been back on her drivers for that long yet, and we were actually in the process of putting her back together at that point.
That sounds right.
Yeah, with the whole pandemic thing, she probably would have been running a year sooner if that hadn't happened. But it is what it is. She's running now, so
yeah. So,
and she's pretty.
yeah. So
even better once she gets a jacket next year. We want to make sure we don't have any leaks and everything before we go all that effort. But
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So here's some more photos of some of the other equipment that you can get a look at if you go to the museum. One of the cool things about this museum is it's a rail yard. So it's not just, it is just displays, but they're one-to-one models of trains, of train equipment. And it's not every day that you get to wander around and look at full-size trains close up like this. And the other cool thing about it is you're allowed to climb up on there. Now you're not allowed to climb up on the roof or anything like that, but you can certainly go up on the steps and out on the decks there and look out and see what things look like. I don't think most of these locomotives are open, like the doors are locked, but you can certainly climb up on the steps, right?
Yeah.
Which brings us to, there's a rotary snowplow. There's F units there, A units that are F units. I guess I wouldn't call them FA because that's something different, but I took a picture on the top right to also show that there are also some B units up there, which is something that's, not something you see every day. And I put a picture of Gary there just because it was a good picture. That's actually not from the museum. I just thought he looked too cool not to share.
Good picture of Gary. Well, I think often they didn't save B units because, it's not the pretty end. So,
Yeah,
I
right?
think that's
Yeah. So, but that brings us to the main event, which was the Rhino locomotive. So this is the 1503. What is that? Is that a SW 1500?
Yeah, SW 1500.
Okay, that's what I thought.
it's
And
pretty.
Michelle actually reserved it. It's a great paint job. Michelle actually reserved this. And Michelle, thank you very much. You're so nice and so generous and so kind that Michelle could have been the only one to run this locomotive
For my whole hour.
right? But she
But I
shared
would do that.
she shared the running with us. Thank you very much.
Which
So,
I thought was nice. I want to shout out to the museum. The process of reserving this and understanding how it worked was really easy. And they do allow you to share your hour, which is great because you could split the money. And I looked at the money as just a donation to keeping this locomotive running. And so I didn't feel like it was a ticket. I felt like it was I'm helping restore this locomotive and keep it running kind of thing. And I got to share it with people. It was great.
and it was great. I got to run it. Alvin got to run it. James
And
got to
Ethan
run
was super patient with all of us.
it. No, I was going to say they need someone different to run that whole thing where they're telling you what to do. That guy was mean.
Not at all.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
He's teasing you, Ethan. Ethan was wonderful. I already kind of knew how it worked, but Ethan was great, and he was standing right there in case like something happened, and it was great. I had such a good time. Such a good time.
Yeah, that was really cool. And so, yeah, four of
Get
us
the
ran.
smile on James' face. That's how we all looked.
Yep. I think Ethan had a little small heart attack when I put the thing in run 2, but that's okay. We didn't go very fast.
Oh, he let me do that. I was like, oh, do we get to go to 2? And then it goes,
Yeah.
It was so cool, like that sound. I just needed to hear it. It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you run those things up each time, it makes that ramping sound. It's so cool, and you can feel it, right? Yeah, you can feel it in the seat. It's like you're really. I'm not going to go overboard here and say like so you're one with the machine, but it is cool.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
So Ethan was a good teacher for me. It was great. And Ethan, you talked about, he gave us a tour through all the equipment there, which was wonderful.
Yeah, that's something else I will mention here now is that while we were there, not only did I record for the podcast stuff that was happening, not only did I record for Chasing Trains stuff that was happening, we recorded all of the cab rides, or not cab rides, but the operation of the locomotive. And Michelle, I'm still waiting to get some GoPro footage from you because I don't have any documentation of myself.
I have it here. I don't know how to pull it off of here. I got it on here. I don't know how to get it off of here, so I got to figure it out.
Oh, I can help with that when I see
Okay.
you. Yeah. But we also did a video about the museum itself. And that's where Ethan was nice enough to talk on camera about the various equipment that we were looking at and, basically invite people to come out to the museum. I still haven't edited that video yet, but I will. And I want to thank you, Ethan. I know I thanked you when we were there, but I want to thank you here publicly now for just being really the best host and being patient with us while we were having fun. I got the impression you were having fun too.
Yeah, we had fun.
Yeah, but
Well,
I really want to thank you for the invitation and for being such a great host. So,
And I second all of that. Thank you, Ethan. We kind of wanted to do this show to thank the people that gave us such an incredible experience. So thank you, Ethan. I'm glad you got to come on here.
You're
what
welcome,
happened?
man.
Sydney
I had a
put up
lot of
her
fun.
thanks. She put up her thanks and conveniently covered Ethan's face.
It's okay. I got a green stripe across mine. It's all good. Kind of like.
Oh, sorry about that. I can make.
No,
that
I like it. I'm sorry. It's totally fine. I can duck.
There. Is that better?
It doesn't matter. I'm just teasing.
Yeah, I can make that stuff go away, but what are we gonna do? So anyway, definitely thanks for that, and we had a great time. Hopefully, you had a great time.
Yeah,
I want to. Yep, I want to come out there and hang out again sometime. I don't know when. It's kind of out of the way for us, but it was definitely worthwhile. So
I just love when you guys pulled up. There was a stack train going by. You guys are like, "Oh, it's train!" Instead of, "Oh, hi, Ethan." Wait for.
Oh, like, hey, Ethan, hang on. There's a train. And they'd be like, went the other way, and we're all like, train.
Well, when you guys pulled up, James and Sid were in the front, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, I think that's James. Is that James? And then Sid leans over and yells, "John's in the other car." I'm like, "Oh, yep, that's them."
Well, right then we get out of the car. I'm like, "Hi, hold on a second. There's a train."
Well, we also saw the 1 unit. Remember, Alvin? You're like, I think I just saw the 1 unit.
Yeah.
And it was, but we couldn't see it because there was a stacked train in the way.
Yeah. That's another thing. We saw the 1 unit that I call those heritage, but I don't think one is a heritage. It's just a unique paint scheme, right?
I think
I
so.
don't know, yeah.
Aren't the heritage units technically like the SP unit and the W and the MOPAC?
They represent a absorbed railroad. So yeah.
I really wanted to go take a picture of that 1 unit because that's one of my favorite paint schemes that they've done, these unique paint schemes. But by the time we were done, they had parked, I think it might have been a different one, wasn't it? Or was it the same one? But they parked some train right in front of it. I'm like, oh, that's great.
Both times, big train, full stop right there.
Yeah.
I saw the roof.
Yeah, we saw the white roof, and that was about it. So I think that's the last slide I have. Oh, no, there's one more slide here. So on the top left there, I asked Ethan to sit on the step so I would feel taller, and he was nice enough to do it. Thanks, man.
This was fun. And the very last ride we had, it was just the ladies. It was me and Sydney. It was fun.
Well, and Ethan.
Well, and Ethan, but he had to be there. He didn't have a choice. So
how does it feel to be one of the ladies, Ethan?
I didn't mean it that way. Come on.
It's okay. You can be a lady.
It was super fun.
Right.
I had such a good time. The 1503 is coming out from Athern in December. So I'll have to get one on order here. So
I'm not sure I knew that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it actually they're doing 1501, 2, and 3, all three of them. And so somebody sent that to me, and I'm like, oh, nice. So I'm gonna order one.
Well, I guess I know what I need to get myself for my birthday now.
Yep. So we're gonna all have to get one.
Yeah.
And you need one, Ethan. You guys need a little model to put there with it.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
If I get one of those, can I bring it up there and put it on the real one and take a picture of it?
Of course.
Right? Because that's what some foamers like to do, stuff like that. But I'm not a foamer.
Yeah.
I'm a professional. Anyway, that's it for that one. Is there anything, Ethan, that you want to say about the Western Pacific Museum before we scoot on to the next epic part of our journey?
No, come visit us if you can. Steam Engine will be running this year. Hopefully next year, we'll have the 1503. Hopefully the Kodachrome will be back in service someday soon. So
Cool.
Yep. And it's part of the perfect itinerary railfan day out of Sacramento. So when I write all that up, it is the perfect route. You can see Roseville Yard, Donner Pass. If you want to go that far, you can turn off and go up to Portola, and then you can see the Ketty Y, and then you drive the Feather River Canyon, which is amazing, and watch the trains through there, and then you're back. So perfect railfan day.
Yeah. Do you want to hang out with us here, Ethan, or do you have stuff to do?
Yeah, I can hang out. I'll hang out.
Feel free to comment on any of this stuff as we go then. Same thing for you, Alvin. Feel free to comment if you want. So I thought since we're going to be up in Portola anyway, why not come down through Feather River Canyon to get back to Sacramento, which is where we were based out of for this couple of days. And what you get to see coming back through the Feather River Canyon is what you see here in our picture. That is the world famous Ketty Y. And we waited for a while and we gave up. And we were driving on Highway 70 to go back. And as we were coming through this cut that's just past the Ketty Y here, I said, there's a pro tip. You can see the High Line and you'll see trains if they're coming. And there was a train there coming. So we turned around and raced back to the Ketty Y and waited for a while.
We sat there for an hour almost waiting for the stupid train.
Yeah.
Well, first we thought that train was coming right then. So, man, we're running out of the car and we're over there and we got our cameras ready and we were ready to roll. And we just see the locomotive and it comes out and it stops way back in the trees in this picture.
Yep.
And it just stops. And we're like, what?
They changed crews there.
And then the little crew
they ended up doing a crew change.
Crew change. So that was, we had to wait for the other crew to come in and they sat around for a while and eventually took off. But by the time they took off, it was getting kind of late. And it's like, I don't know, 2.5 or 3 hours to Sacramento from here. So instead of chasing it down the mountain, which we should have done or would have done in other circumstances, we just took off. And, we didn't really see any other trains all the way down the canyon. So
no, we were probably lucky to catch this one. So
yep. The other thing was on the scanner, we heard that this train was going to be stopping in Virgilia, which is a great place to catch them if you ever go up there rail fanning. And there was another train that was supposed to be waiting for them to pass by at Virgilia, and we didn't see one. So I don't really know what ended up happening to the other train, but we did drive back down through the canyon, went through Oroville, through Yuba City, Marysville, back to the Sacramento area. Whereupon the next day, everybody who's been there knows what this is. We
on my bucket list.
Yeah, we had a date with the California State Railroad Museum, which is, I believe, the only place in the whole world that you can see what's on the picture there, which is a cab forward. These are monstrous locomotives that Southern Pacific had them built for Donner Pass specifically. And they have the only one that's left. I guess nobody else thought they were worth preserving for some reason. But someone at the California State Railroad Museum did, and it's been on display there since I've known about this place.
The person, Kim, the lady that gave us the tour, this is one of the only times that there'll ever not be stairs in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're moving.
Yeah, so my unlucky piece was that I didn't get to get in the cab because the stairs were not there. Because of the Carson City event. They were moving locomotives. So I have to go back. It just gives me a reason to have to go back.
Yep. So the story there is to the left of this picture, there should be a staircase leading up into the cab. Those stairs were removed because they moved the Genoa, which is a Virginia and Truckee locomotive that's normally stored back there alongside about where the tender of this locomotive is, but on the other side of it. They moved it to the Great Western Steam Up in Carson City that happened basically the weekend before this. And they left the stairs out of the way because I believe they're going to put the, which one is it? It was there. Was it the Dayton? I think it's the Dayton.
Yeah.
That they're going to be putting in.
They were going to put it there on Thursday, and I was there on Tuesday.
Oh,
the
you mean
time I went.
the second
I
time
was
you
there
went?
on Tuesday, and I still didn't get in the cab because it was Thursday. They were moving the logo. So I was still 2 days too early.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's some pictures from the California State Railroad Museum. Anyone watching who has not been there, this is a must-see destination. They're part of the Smithsonian network of museums. And if you ever go there, you'll understand why. They have a lot of really important historic equipment on display for people to see. This is not like the museum at Portola where you can get to climb on stuff. This is stuff that's really just there for display only. And I mean, with very few exceptions, they do have some exhibits that you can go into the RPO, the mail car. They have a dining car that you can go into. They have the cab forward that you can normally go into, but you just weren't able to for this, couple of weeks when we were there. And the picture down there on the bottom right is from their Magic of Scale Model Railroading exhibit, which was something that the NMRA put into the museum in conjunction with the museum itself, which is a really cool exhibit, especially if you're into model railroading. That's just a very small, minute part of a huge wall that has thousands, thousands, right? It's an entire wall.
Easily, because it goes from floor to ceiling, rows of trains.
Yeah, of model trains. So anyway, that was a great experience. And I have to thank Michael and Kim both from the staff there at the California State Railroad Museum for being so gracious and having us there. I've been to the museum a number of times and never had a behind the scenes tour of it. And I've always heard of their library and their research. It's a research center, I guess. I've always heard of it, but I've never seen it until that day. So it was
it was impressive. If you do need to do research, it's worth that trip out there. Go and do it there because it's great.
I think the California State Railroad Museum has one of, if not the largest archives of historical documents and what do you call it? I guess documentation of historical data.
And what you do, you contact them ahead of time and tell them what you're interested in. And then they go through and find things that you might want to see. And so you have to communicate. You can't just show up and go to their library, but you can communicate with them about what you're wanting to research. And they'll pull the stuff and have it ready for you for your day that you're there. It looked really cool. There was a man doing research. So I'm sure he was like, would you people go away? You asked too many questions. Because they're asking all kinds of questions. Kimberly is their exhibit designer. And that gave us a tour around the exhibits. And it's always interesting to hear the why and the extra things that go into an exhibit. It's not always just, here's a train, this is what it is. It's, we designed this so that you would walk up, learn this story about this human and feel this way and understand this process. And like, there's so much more that goes into an exhibit than just saying, this is a train. And so it was cool to hear Kimberly's thought process on all of the exhibits that she had designed.
Yeah, people might think, just casual museum goers, that it's just there. Just put it in a case. There's a lot more that goes into it, as you said, Michelle.
A lot.
And I knew that that kind of stuff. And one of the reasons why during this whole visit that you came out, one of the reasons that I tried to focus on going to museums is so that you could get that sort of,
so I could ask all my questions.
Well, it's shop talk, right? For someone who's in the industry like you are.
Yeah.
So
because I wanted to learn. Everywhere I went, I learned something. So it was good.
Yep. And we'll be talking more about another one of those museums here in a minute, but let's continue. So Saturday, July 9th, we went to Niles Canyon, which is also a museum. the Niles Canyon Railway is operated by the Pacific Locomotive Association, which is a group that's been around for, for a long time. I think probably coming up on damn near 60 years now, real close anyway. And I know we've passed 50 years because I was working on a video that I had intended to put out for the 50th anniversary. This picture is the M200. This is a rail bus. I guess that's what you would call this thing, that operated on the California Western in the far north reaches of Northern California, and also known as the Skunk Train now. And this is part of Niles Canyon's collection. And it's a cool thing. I've heard it. It has a funky horn on it. I've never ridden it though, but they were running excursions out of their Sunol Depot east on this rail bus, and they were running their normal excursions behind a Black Widow to the west. And that's
there it is.
Yeah, what is that? A GP9, I think, torpedo tube they call it, because the air tanks are on the top of the locomotive and they look like torpedoes. And that's a picture of Alvin and Sydney there. Not sure what Alvin was doing there, but you can see Gary is over here taking a picture of us as we pulled up into Niles.
I'm so glad Gary came.
Oh yeah, he had a great
Gary,
show.
He chased the train that we were on. It was perfect.
Yeah, he had a great show as we pulled in, seeing that awesome Black Widow coming up. We were on the rear end of the train. And,
I love this train ride, to be honest. It was great. I love they had outdoor cars because I love being outdoors on a train. If there is an outdoor car, I will be in it. I'm not good at sitting in a seat. I'm good.
It was nice that it had that little corner like on the left side too.
Yeah.
That you could stand and rail from.
Yeah, that was really cool. It had that space where we could stand and get video, and we went over a really cool bridge. That was really neat. And yeah, 2 of them. They were cool. I enjoyed the ride. It was perfect time-wise, a great stop. And there were so many families on this train. It was cool to see the general public and multi-generational families on here.
Yeah, this is one of those places that if you're anywhere near the Bay Area and you haven't been to Niles Canyon to ride their trains, it is so worth it, because especially for a family outing, I really think that they should think about doing a moonlight train or a moon train whenever there's a full moon, because the canyon, when it's lit up by the moon, is really pretty, because it gets dark out there. It's right in kind of on the outskirts of the Bay Area, but it's only 10 minutes away or 5 minutes away from the Bay Area proper, like a really populated place. So it's far enough away from the light pollution that's blocked by the canyon walls, right? So it gets really dark out there. And when it's a full moon, you can see stuff under that light. So it's it's really cool and definitely worth going to. The other thing that we did, and I should have known this was going to happen, I spoke with Henry Baum, who is the current president of the Niles Canyon Railway. He actually hooked me up with tickets for this ride. And as you know, I've been a member there forever and do a lot of PR work with the organization, including this ongoing series of the restoration of the SP 1744. And I've actually done videos with Henry at Brightside Yard. So I talked to him before we came. So he knew which train we were going to be on and what time we'd be coming back. So we get off the train, and lo and behold, there's Henry. So we recorded a little podcast segment with him, which you can see on the podcast coming out on August 6th. And he's like, hey, you want to go do a tour of the yard? Well, who are we to say no?
Yeah, and you guys kept saying something about cross mafia, and I'm like, there's mafia here? Like, I had no clue what you guys were talking about because I misheard both words.
So
we went to see this, and I learned all about it.
Yeah, the KM 9010. This is, I believe, this is the only one in anything remotely resembling this condition in the entire world.
And say it
And
right. It's called the what?
Kraus Maffei.
The Kraus
Now,
Mafia. See, and I
yeah,
kept
I
hearing
don't.
Cross Mafia or something. I didn't know.
Yeah, the Cross Mafia. Yeah, this thing is a very unusual engine in that it's hydraulic. So it actually has a transmission. It's not run, with traction motors on the trucks like other locomotives, like the one that Ethan was nice enough to let us run up at the Portola Museum. It has a transmission. It's a German-built thing, and the unusual thing about this engine is it actually has two prime movers. So it's not just one engine powering traction motors, but two, and I believe each one powers the truck that it's situated next to or near. And these actually use something called a Maybach diesel engine. They have, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I should have been paying more attention when Henry was talking, but I was just excited that everybody was there. I believe they have one of these prime movers, if you want to call it that, operating, and they've put it back into the engine. So it will run under its own power, but it's probably better to have both engines working if you want to run it as a regular thing. Anyway, so Henry took us to the yard and gave us a VIP experience touring.
It was amazing. Oh, he told me something about the Cross Mafia. The window like on the edge there towards the back cranks down like crank like
like a car window. Yeah.
Like an old car window. I thought, how fun is that on a train?
Yeah. The other unusual thing about this engine is you see how the cab is angled? That makes it like a greenhouse inside the cab. So my understanding is that the crews hated these things because it's like a heat. It's like an oven.
It's like a terrarium. Like they're just in there dying of heat.
Exactly. So something else, and if I had known, I might have planned things a little bit differently. The steam crew was there at the yard. You can see on the bottom right, they're looking at a steam engine. And that's I believe that's the Clover Valley number 4, which is it's a 2662 Malley type engine that was actually running the following day. They were doing steam train rides the day after we were there. I think if I had known when we made the plans originally that it was going to be steam trains the following day, I would have tried to go up here on Sunday. But we were there Saturday, and you know what? We had a great time. I had a great time. It seemed like everybody had a great time.
I enjoyed my Southern Pacific Black Widow unit because I had never seen one of those in person. I was perfectly happy, and now I can go back and see Steam next time. So it's all good.
And something else that I pointed out when we were at the yard, but I don't think anybody really was listening, was that they have a GP7. That's the 713, which is the sister to the 712, which is, we saw that in Portola, a couple days before this. So I thought that was pretty cool too. And they both look really beautiful. Recent paint jobs, that green with the tiger stripes on the front, or barricade stripes on the front. Laura is asking where are they with the KM? I just mentioned that a minute ago, that they have that Maybach engine back into the engine. They had taken it out because it needed a bunch of work, and they just recently put it back in. And I have a picture of it, but I did not put that in my slideshow. So anyway, on the way back home, we stopped by at the South Bay Historical Railroad Society. If you look in the, should mention this, if you look in the chat just now, there's a link that shows, in case anyone's interested in knowing what the progress is on the 9010, there's a link there. And you can click on and take a look at that. So anyway, we went to the SBHRS. This is one of my favorite places near where I live. And it's at an active Caltrain station. in Santa Clara. So that's why I used this picture of the 920. This is an F40 PH, I think -2 or -2C. And this is going to be a thing of the past before long, because if you look behind it, right to the right of the sander hatch there, that is a pole for a catenary wire that's been erected. And these are going to be gone before too long. They're being replaced by EMUs that were built by Stadler, or are being built by Stadler in the Salt Lake City area. And so pretty soon you're not going to see F40s running on the Caltrain line. So if you're ever in the area and you like F40s, you might want to get pictures of those before they're gone. It was interesting. I found out that I think it was the Saturday after this, so a week after this, on July 16th, we were driving to Newark, and we went over an overpass, and I saw one of the EMUs pulling out of their maintenance facility, and I noticed it, and I said, oh, look, they have an EMU train coming out. And I found out this past week that they actually did a test run with an EMU set, which I thought was kind of cool. I'm sorry that I missed it. That would have been cool to catch some run-bys. But what we did there was, there are two layouts in the Santa Clara Depot, which is the top left picture. There's some guy waving. Looks like some guy with crazy hair, probably Alvin. And the picture on the top right is Michelle and Sydney in the interlocking tower, which is one of the things that I like a lot on the property there. This is one of the few, it might be the only Southern Pacific interlocking tower remaining. All the rest have been lost to mysterious fires and, time.
It was railroad. Cool. I'd never seen how all those little slidey things work to do the switches. That was really neat.
Yeah.
I'm leaning on it in that picture. I'm leaning on it.
Yeah. I thought, Michelle, that when you did the presentation you had about the bridges back east, that those reminded me of this, because those are interlocks also, right?
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah.
That tower was really neat. And kudos to the South Bay Historic Society, Real Historic, SBHRS, so don't mess it up.
Historical Railroad, yeah.
Historical Railroad Society, for maintaining this tower and keeping it nice and clean and just taking care of it.
Yeah, it's painted fresh. It's really cool.
It was really nice.
And it's one of the places that I like to, when I have time, to just go sit in, and you crack the windows and get a nice breeze through there. It's like,
you can see the breeze blowing my hair because we had the windows open. It was nice.
Yeah, that's actually a still from a video. You should see the video. It looks like a music
my
video
hair all like
80s. Oh yeah. It's doing the full 80s music video thing.
That's hilarious. At least it wasn't doing that in front of my face, which is what usually happens.
I was facing the opposite direction, so I was getting the.
You were getting the hair in the face.
Yeah.
You were over by the window. Yeah.
Oh, that's what that smell was.
Me and Alvin, we both have hair issues in wind, so.
Yep.
I know what that's
Here's
like.
Nick.
Yeah. Nick is on the bottom right. He was talking about the original Pullman couch or love seat that's sitting in this private rail car, which was also on display there at the museum. This is one of the things that they don't have it open most of the time, but if you show up on a regular day when they're open to the public, usually there's someone there that has keys that can show you the business card. And one of the guys that's been instrumental in working on it is Jim. He's on the left bottom there, on the far left side of the picture. And then our other buddy there is Ed. He's in the middle of the picture. And Ed's the guy, if you've been watching this channel for a long time, you'll know that we used to do live broadcasts from the Santa Clara Depot. That was the TSG live crew lounge, where we would pick a railroad or model railroad topic and have a panel discussion. And Ed is the guy that used to always open up the depot for us. We haven't done one of those in person since the pandemic started, but we hope to be able to do them again soon. So I want to thank everybody from the SBHRS for, again, giving us the behind the scenes VIP treatment.
Yeah, they did. And I got to see the whole depot, and the layout was really neat. So,
yeah.
Both the N and the HO. They were both great.
Both layouts there are very cool. They're fun to operate on. So they're not operations based. You what?
I got to play with the HO one last time.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
You even brought your own equipment to run on it, which was fun.
I sure did.
Yeah. There's a video about that on the Chasing Train series. It's funny, all the stuff that we talk about, I've documented almost all of it on the channel at some point or another.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. And the other cool thing, I think for some of the people, I think Nick has been wanting to meet you. So that was cool too.
Yeah, right? That was neat. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Nick. Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. And it's fun because these are guys that I've known for years now. And I think that they feel like they know you because of all the shows that we do together, and we've hung out and stuff like that. So getting to meet someone in person is pretty cool,
Nick said
I love meeting people in person. I love it.
Nick had no idea that we never met
say
before.
hi to me because I want to meet everybody. Sorry, Alvin, what were you saying?
Oh, Nick thought that we met before, but we never have.
You hadn't met Nick before? Oh.
Nope.
Well, did he fangirl you, though?
No, he was like, oh, hey, man, how's it going? But I never met him before. I was like, sorry, I don't know you.
Right. That's one of the funny things when I go out doing stuff. People come up to me and they're like, oh, hey, I watch all your shows or whatever. I'm like, that's nice. Who are you? I'm never that direct about it, but it's just like, well, I'm at a disadvantage because I don't have any idea who I'm talking to, and they know stuff about me because I'm, on
YouTube famous.
What happens to me is sometimes I meet so many people that I'm not good at remembering the names. Like I know you, so tell me how, or tell me your name or what. And I want to know, I really do. So I'm sorry if it ever comes across as rude, but I'm not going to not ask and act like I know.
Right.
So
do you know what really throws me for a loop, Michelle, is when I see someone that I know or that I've met, and normally I would remember them if I saw them in the place where I met them.
In the context. Yeah.
Exactly.
Context.
Yeah, that happens to me where I'll be at someone's layout at an op session or something, and I see someone that I know, like from Niles Canyon. I'm like, God, I know that guy, but I can't think of who it is. And then it's like, oh, that's why I couldn't remember. If I saw you at Niles Canyon, I would have remembered who you were. Just
right.
As an example. Anyway, moving right along here.
Western Railway Museum.
This is another one of those places. If you're anywhere near the Bay Area, this is a must go to. It's a little bit out of the way because it's in Suisun City at Rio Vista Junction, right off Highway 12. So between Suisun City as you're going toward Lodi, basically. And, who goes toward Lodi? So
and don't think you're going to find Suisun on a map spelled phonetically as Suisun.
Right?
It's like Suisun.
It's like Swissun. Yeah. S-U-I-S-U-N.
It is not spelled like it's said. So just keep that in mind.
My suspicion is that we probably mispronounce it. It's probably not Suisun. It's probably like Swissoon or something, but people, how it is.
That's the way everybody said it, though. It's Suisun. Yep. So I have to say, I'll be super honest and say, when I heard we were going to a traction museum that's like streetcars, I'm thinking
trolleys.
It's not going to be, not going to be super fun. And man, was I wrong. I loved this place.
This is one of those places that if you haven't been there, you have no idea. And
hidden gem for sure.
It just so happens that, it was last month. This month, last weekend, what? Oh, I'm sorry. The weekend before last, so on Saturday the 9th, we put out a video about the Western Railway Museum. I went out there 3 months ago and recorded with at the time, he was their new executive director, Eric Mensis. I knew him from the Nevada Northern, and we became friends on Facebook. So I, followed where he was, and he turned out, or ended up, I should say, at the Western Railway Museum as their new executive director. So I contacted him when I found out that he was going to be there and said, hey, we should make a video about the museum, and I'll put it out on the YouTube channel. That video came out a week and a half ago on Saturday, and you should watch it. It's definitely worth watching. And basically what I did when I knew that we were going to be able to go there was I contacted Eric again, and I said, hey, there's some VIP, very important people coming from out of town, or VIF, the very important foamers, coming in from out of town. And I would like to know if we can come out on Sunday the 10th, and maybe you could show them some of the stuff that people don't always get to see there. And boy, did he, right?
Oh, yeah. They were wonderful.
We got into the barn. It's named after someone whose name I forget now. And some other friends from the South Bay Historical Railroad Society, that would be John Wiley, Mike Stockwell, and Robin Gilstrom also came. They met us up there. And Eric, again, VIP treatment. I mean, he showed us anything you wanted to see. They give us a ride on that parlor car on the upper right, all the way out to the end of their line, and then back. They didn't just leave us out there. That would have been a hell of a hike.
I love that ride. It kind of, honestly, it was dear to my heart because it was kind of like going through Nebraska, like the plains and the fields, and there were cattle, and I loved it. And there were normal old-fashioned windmills. Mm-hmm. And then there were wind generator or wind turbines. They were cool. Yeah. Power generating wind turbines.
The car was going like this. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, that car was like riding in the car. It was wonderful though.
Yeah, they get to go pretty fast out there too. I think they must have been doing 20 miles an hour at least.
I didn't realize in these kind of cars that the actual engineer operator, what's the term for him? It's different, right? It's not engineer.
I think it's a Carmen.
Carmen actually kind of sat in the living room with you and running, like right there in the living room with you.
I've usually heard them called as motormen.
Motormen.
There you go.
Yeah, I knew there was a different term.
Thanks, Ethan. That's what I was trying to think of, but my brain, Thank you. Yeah. I'm glad you hung out. I would have said the wrong thing. Well, I did say the wrong thing. Anyway, so you can see Gary was having fun with his stylish Chasing Trains, doing some more plugs here. Chasing Trains phone case there. He was having a great time. Michelle's sitting there trying to ignore that Gary's sitting next to her.
No, I was outside. I was the first person. They're like, you can go outside now. I'm like, I'm out there.
Yeah, we went out on the deck.
Put my chair down.
Right, that's a picture from out on the deck, which is on the bottom right as well on our way back. I guess when you're traveling out to the end of the line, we were kind of going in reverse, and the motorman was sitting in that parlor car with us with a little control stand. And they don't let you go out on the deck when you're on your way out there because, one, you might get bugs in the mouth, that kind of thing, but also because he has to be able to see. And he does not stand out on the deck. He actually sits just inside the car there. If you look on the top right picture, he sits kind of where Ted there. That's Ted, the conductor. He's out on the deck, and the motorman would have been just inside the car behind him there. And Dave Hammer is asking if it's overhead 600 volts. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Didn't Eric tell us that, Michelle?
I think so, but that's electricity. So for me, it's kind of foreign language.
Yep.
Yeah, it's 600.
Yep, I think that's right. So anyway, if Gary was here, he could tell us, but Gary didn't show up. He doesn't show up to these live things. He's boring. He's probably playing with potato. So anyway, another shout out, Eric, and everybody. There was another guy that I'd never seen there before. His name escapes me now. I want to say Phil. Yeah, it was Phil.
Phil.
Who was giving us a great explanation of everything they were doing when they were preparing the train for the run that day. That was really cool.
It was neat. Like everything they had was nicely done, nicely taken care of. Their visitor center's great. Also, so like on the museum side of things too, I really enjoyed my visit. Yep. And of course, Comet, are you kidding? That was awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have a picture of Comet?
I don't know. I don't think I put a picture of Comet.
Did
Did
you
I?
have a picture
Oh,
of
I did put a picture of Comet. I have a lot of. Here,
Oh.
I'll do it. I'll do it the Al way. I'm gonna find a picture of Comet. This is from henceforth. This is gonna be known as the Al way of doing things. Here's Comet. Oh, is that in focus? Can you see?
Yeah,
him?
we can see it. Comet is the cutest kitten ever,
Isn't he cute?
and he just purrs when you hold him, and he's so cute. So
He's
Ethan,
little
you guys
kitty.
need a cat. Ethan, do you guys have a cat?
We've had one on and off. We had one that lasted a really long time for being basically a feral cat, but we haven't really had much luck since then.
Do you know what you really need, Ethan? Is a cat agent.
Yeah,
If your
you got to
cat-
have a cat agent to do the social media for you, because
Right?
Eric owns that.
Yes. If your cat does not have the proper representation, he won't do your railroad any good.
Yeah,
See,
he has to have his own agent.
Yeah, this is what we learned from Eric, because Eric, everyone knows about dirt at the Nevada Northern. Everyone. Even I knew about dirt. When I went to Ely, that was the first thing I asked him is I want to meet Kitty. And, Eric did that. Eric made dirt famous and got them started with DJ, the Dirt Jr. Well, it just so happens that this cat that they've named Comet introduced himself to Eric. He must have.
He really showed up. He literally was like dropped there by somebody.
Right? Yeah. So I don't know. Oh, Gary's watching. All
Gary's
right,
watching.
Gary.
Oh, I can't say.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, can't talk about Gary. He's watching.
Like you haven't already.
Yeah. Anyway, right. Yeah, exactly. So on our way back, 334 I think 334 is the really dilapidated steam engine. Here, let me go back because
that's the one we didn't see. They had one there. That one.
Yeah.
The 94 was nicely
This is the one that we saw. I believe the 94 is a 10-wheeler, and this actually ran once a while back. Gary shared some pictures of this locomotive running out at the Western Railway Museum that he took, I think, in the 80s. And it hasn't run for quite some time, but it's there, and it's a piece of Western Pacific history. They have a lot of very interesting equipment at this museum, and you can tell from the upper left picture here, they have a car barn that houses dozens of pieces of equipment out of the elements. That is so crucial. I'm sure, Ethan, you can relate to this.
Yeah, I know.
Also, Niles Canyon, right? It's just they're open yards, and nothing destroys the paint on equipment like the sun. And this stuff is enclosed in these car barns and is really well preserved.
And I learned about a unit that looks like the one on the left there. I had no idea that they used electrified equipment in mines. And there's a famous mine, which I don't remember the name of. And they would just run catenary out. What is it, Alvin?
Kennecott.
Kennecott, yes.
Kennecott copper.
And that was really interesting learning about that. They had that locomotive that they used there. So you can learn all kinds of stuff at the Western Railway Museum that you don't expect.
I think the 334 is hiding in one of the car barns that they don't have open to the public usually.
It is. I've seen it on a different tour that I took about 4 or 5 years ago. So it is there, and it's in a kind of a dark and dusty car barn. But again, the important thing is it's inside. So, yeah. And
the 712 and the 917 that we have in our museum, we actually got from them. They had them, and we traded them I don't know where they have it, but the SN 146, one of the 44 tonners. So we gave them that, and we got those 2 engines out of them. So.
Yep. I think it's pretty cool, that museums talk to each other and do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that if anybody was ever looking to preserve a really important piece of Sacramento Northern equipment, this would be would be the place to go, because that's really their thing is Sacramento Northern. So, but anyway, super shout out to Eric. Yeah, Eric did a great job giving us the VIP treatment there. On the way back, we stopped in at Jack Burgess's place to share the Yosemite Valley Railroad. That's an HO scale layout that's pretty prominent on this channel. And there's Michelle talking to Jack in the layout room. It was kind of hot that afternoon, so Alvin and I just kind of hung out in the waiting room or crew lounge area. And you can see on the right side there a picture of the what is it, quarter scale or backhead that he scratch built out of brass.
Yeah, it's phenomenal workmanship. I'm just blown away.
Yeah, we did a video about that. It's called Working with Brass. It's one of the model railroading with Jack Burgess videos. The interesting thing about that backhead is that he had it hooked up to his layout, not this layout that he has now, but the one before this. And it actually operated the trains on the layout using that as the control stand. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
so.
It was phenomenal. His layout was just, I don't even have words for it. It was so, that is probably the most prototypical thing I've ever seen, ever. As in, he had photos of people in real life and they were there on his layout. Everything on his layout is exactly as it was in the 1939, right?
Yep. August of 1939.
August of 1939. Really nicely done, though. The workmanship is just obviously the highest level. So
one of the
I'm
things
glad I got to see it.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we were able to share it. I know how much Jack enjoys sharing the layout with people, and so it meant a lot to him. And I don't know if I mentioned this when you guys were out here, Michelle, but you had a tour that's longer than usual. So you guys must have been asking good questions and
I had a million questions. Typical me.
Yeah. Jack and Jackie are just great people. And
that was lovely.
They do a lot of one of the things I wanted to share also is Ardenwood, which is just around the corner from there where they live. And that's another place that's a museum. And it's a society for the preservation of Carter Railroad resources. So they do a lot of interesting preservation and restoration work there, but we didn't have time. So super shout out to Jack and Jackie as well for being great hosts. And this is interesting. So the next day was Monday, and one of the really, highlights in the Bay Area to go visit is Roaring Camp. You've heard of Roaring Camp. They're up in a place called Felton, which is near Santa Cruz. And this picture is a picture of one of their CF7 locomotives that they use to run something called the beach train. And the beach train is really not a beach train at all. It's really more like a forest train that goes to the beach. And because the destination is the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, we call it the beach train.
Another one where I was like, I don't really want to ride along the beach. I really wanted to see the trees, but I guess I'll just go. No, I don't actually think that way, but I was pleasantly surprised. I really didn't expect the tree part at the beginning. We're just in this redwood forest, and suddenly we're in like the biggest trees I've ever seen in my life, and just kind of cruising through them. It was really cool. And then to end up at the beach, this is a fabulous train ride.
Yeah.
The
beach
and go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was going to say, I tell people that the beach train has everything. It has dense redwood forests. Almost the second you start going toward the beach, you go through a great through truss bridge over the San Lorenzo River, which is just beautiful. And it has abandoned tunnels that are, collapsed in because they're not usable anymore. It has a functioning tunnel. It has
working wigwags. They have working wigwags on their street crossings.
Right. Street running. It goes to the boardwalk. It has the beach. There's a Y. It has everything.
It really does. It really does have everything.
Yeah. So it's one of my favorite rides in the Bay Area. It's a scenic ride that lasts about an hour. You end up at the boardwalk. I mean, how much better could that be?
And that's a clean boardwalk, by the way.
Oh.
That is like a really nice beach boardwalk. So it was great.
I lost my headphones. You were remarking about how clean it is?
Yes, I was shocked how clean it is. I've been to other boardwalks in California, and they are not like this one.
So, is Santa Monica not that clean?
Not at all.
Yeah. So while we're at the boardwalk, well, sorry, when we first showed up, we went and saw the Heisler being steamed up, which is pretty cool. That is the oldest working Heisler, I think, in existence. That's a narrow gauge.
Yeah.
No, that's called the Tuolumne number 2 now. That's an original West Side Lumber Company Heisler. It was the number 3 when it was at the West Side. And I'm pretty sure they call it the Tuolumne because of where it came from. That's the West Side operated in Tuolumne County.
Oh, okay.
I've never really asked anybody that specifically, but
I had never seen a Heisler before. That was new to me. So
I was kind of disappointed because I know, Michelle, that you wanted to go see the Shea and it wasn't running that day, but seeing the Heisler, it's even more rare, I think, than the working Shea.
And I have to go back. I still have to go back and see a Shea, so it's fine.
Yep. I think Alvin has a thing of how the Shea works. Yeah.
How
Anyway,
does the Heisler work, Alvin?
Oh, that's a good question.
There we go.
It should be like this.
Angled.
It has the side rods, right? But anyway, the picture on the bottom left is Michelle with her gigantic donut.
And I'm not holding that like out. That's like, it's so big.
It's like that big.
So me and Kevin went to the window and I was like, hey man, can we get one of those big ass donuts? And he knew exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
They were huge and delicious.
Yeah, we had a big ass donut the last time you were out here, didn't we, Alvin?
No.
We didn't get one?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
We
had a big ass.
We just stopped at the shopping. I jumped out and got a t-shirt and that was it.
Oh, I thought we went to the boardwalk. Okay. Well, I'm glad you're.
I mean, we did, but we didn't stop.
Yeah. We have a question from Dave Hammer whether Trevor joined us for this trip. Trevor did not join us. Trevor did help in other ways. Thank you very much, Trevor. I should mention that.
No, but Murph joined us and Kevin.
Murph joined us. That's the picture on
and
the right.
James.
Yep, James came. Kevin Hill. It's been on the channel before on Chasing Trains, and also he does work on toy trains. He was there. He works at Roaring Camp. He came often. He came on his day off to hang out with us.
On his day off.
Yeah,
which was great. He taught me a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
he answered all my questions, and then continued to answer them on Facebook later. I had more questions. So.
Yeah,
Kevin for patience with me.
Yeah,
I rode a roller coaster with him while I was there, so that was nice.
Yeah, you went on a different kind of train ride.
We went on a different kind of train ride.
I wasn't getting on a coaster. I'm glad you guys did, though.
You don't like fun?
Yep. I see that Trevor's commenting here that he wishes he could have been there. We wish you could have been there too, Trevor.
Yeah, we do.
But luckily, Tony had our back and was able to get us on the trains.
Yep.
So
shout out to Tony.
Yeah, shout out to Tony. And here's a picture of Alvin having his date with Kevin. They sat there eating their corn dogs.
It's very cute.
It was really cute. That's us in the middle on the top on the beach train. I think headed back to Felton.
Went through town. Yeah.
Yeah. You can figure out what the bottom left is. That's just a picture of the famous sign at the boardwalk. And Sydney took that picture in the bottom left of this. Basically, it's like all these parts that are sitting out behind the engine shop at Roaring Camp. And the locomotive there in the distance is a Shea that they're, I think, working on getting back to operation someday. That would be really cool to see. I don't remember. I want to say it's at number 6, but I just don't remember. Tree Frog Flag Productions there could tell you all about that
In Dallas.
engine.
So, John, is your screen like flipped? Because you keep saying left and it's right on my screen. And I see Alvin looking confused too. I don't know. Am I the only one that it's backwards?
No. Did I say the wrong thing?
I don't
said
know.
it's
You
on
just
the-
said lower left and we're looking right. I'm just
Well,
giving you a hard time. It's all good.
On my picture, the bottom right is the boardwalk sign. Is that not the bottom right to you?
You said bottom left. So
Oh,
maybe
I said
heard
the wrong. I'm sorry. That's me.
So
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'm sorry.
maybe I'm backwards. I'm often backwards, so it's okay.
Well, I mean, I am too. I might have said the
Oh.
wrong thing because, frankly, by the end of these shows, my blood sugar starts going low and I can't think straight. So I was right. It is the number 6. Matthew seems to know that's the number 6, and its name is Daisy. Thanks, Matthew.
That's great.
So anyway, so there's some pictures from that. The picture down or up on the upper right, that's me on the beach filming Alvin for a Chasing Trains segment. And we ended our day there in Capitola, which is just next door to Santa Cruz. We had some tacos on the beach. How good was that?
It was good.
Shout
Yeah.
out to Michelle for having an extra jacket, though.
Yeah.
It was
So
a
much-
little cold that day.
It was a
in the
little
morning.
cold that day.
Yeah. It was a little nipply.
And
But,
luckily, I had bought a men's jacket in Hawaii and brought it with me, so it fit Alvin.
Yeah. Alvin doesn't care. He would wear a women's jacket too. I'm with her.
I'm with her.
Yeah, but it probably wouldn't fit him. Like that one at least fit him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that was it. This is one of those things where really Kevin and Trevor, I think, have to be thanked mostly for the and Tony
And Tony.
Tony Koch for helping because
Yes.
the fact that Kevin was there and also Charlie thinking about it because Charlie did a great job on the he was the conductor for the narrow
Oh
gauge
yeah, that's true.
that day. And I've been on Charlie's trains before, and he was more entertaining. And I'm sure that had to do with having you on the train, Alvin and Michelle.
He was
doesn't
a
do that.
blast. He was
Yeah, he
so
doesn't do that
funny.
for me. Yeah, he did a great job. So super shout out to those guys. Wouldn't have been as good if not for the participation of all 3 of those guys.
Yeah, and Charlie was on we did both trains, by the way. We did the train where you take the Heisler up into the hills. So we did the beach train, and we came back and almost immediately got on the train that went up the hill behind the Heisler. I think they call it the Redwood train. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, it's the narrow gauge. I think most of us
Which
just refer
was
to that as the narrow gauge.
Super cool because you're climbing a 10.5% grade on a switchback. And that was really neat to see. And so I got kind of both worlds. I got that beach train, which is really like a great experience for the day. And then I got we're going into the woods train.
Yeah.
So,
It was a
fun.
good experience. I've never ridden both trains on the same day. That was, if you ever want to foam out, that is a great place to do it. You
and I
show up
wasn't
early.
overtired. I wasn't too tired riding too. It was fine.
Yeah. Yeah, they're great rides. It's just a great place to go. So shout out to Roaring Camp. Yay.
Yay.
And then the next day, that happened. I dropped this guy with the girl's sunglasses off at the airport, and he took off. Michelle took off, and that was the end of the epic, time for me. And I gotta say, it was organizing all that stuff was really tiring.
Yes.
But everybody seemed to have a really great time. John Dyson came up from Modesto on a few of those days.
Yeah, he was
James,
with us.
right? James came out and went with us to most of the stuff. Everybody, Gary came out most of the time for all that stuff. I had a really, really good time. I want to thank you guys for coming out. I probably got 4 or 5 episodes of Chasing Trains coming up because of that.
Only that many?
Oh yeah, it is.
There's a few antics in there.
Yeah, there's some antics that won't make it to the Chasing Trains episodes, unfortunately, that are very much worth experiencing. But you know what? I can't do it. Can't show some stuff that happened.
It was a fun trip.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. Ask me sometime, Ethan. I'll tell you what it was. You'd probably appreciate it. Uh, but yeah.
So, oh yeah. So I guess we should say one of the reasons that I was actually going to go, even on the UP trip, was that the layout at the Colorado Model Railroad Museum is the Oregon, California, and Eastern Railroad. And it goes from Klamath Falls, Oregon to Lakeview, Oregon on our layout. And all of the places are real. And I've never been there. And the big boy was spending a night in Klamath Falls. And I was like, if the big boy's in Klamath Falls, I'm in Klamath Falls. And so that was kind of the big motivation of the whole beginning of this whole thing. And so then when it was canceled, I decided to go ahead and go see it anyway. And a couple of the volunteers from the museum, one of them, Bob Pilk, who's the narrator that worked with John on our layout tour that John did, he has researched it and been there before. So he was like my guide. And we actually spent a day going to every location. And Bob taught me why the OC&E did what it did, why it went where it went, and the things that Dave like made up or changed or thought would happen in the future that he modeled. And so the day that he took off into the airport, I also went to the airport in Sacramento and picked up the Steve and Bob, and we started our OC&E trip. And that's a whole nother episode. Maybe I'll have to talk about that one sometime.
Oh, there's something
Fern
else.
Creek and Western. I know you didn't have any pictures.
I totally forgot. Well, I didn't have any pictures from that day because I didn't take any
Oh,
pictures.
I do. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have sent them to you. I took lots of pictures.
Yeah, well,
I wish I
only
got
have
a picture with Paul. I was pretty bummed I didn't get a picture with Paul.
Yeah, we should have taken a group picture with Paul. It was cool to meet Paul in person. It was wonderful. And there was another guy there, a young man operating, and it was nice to talk to him too. And
Justin. Yeah,
Justin. Yes.
I think it was Justin, right? Does that sound right, Trevor? Justin, is he one of the young people that he just got an engine recently? He was running it on the layout.
He was running in Colorado and Southern.
Right.
So.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, we went to Fern Creek and Western after we went to I was so impressed with all the fun we had at Roaring Camp that I forgot about going to the Fern Creek and Western.
Yeah, it was really fun. And I'm glad we went there. And what a nice location. Just down the street, you can see that boardwalk and all of Santa Cruz. And what a nice house and place to have the Fern Creek and Western. It was cool. And they're getting ready. They got a National Guard and Railroad convention coming there next year. So they're working hard.
Yes, they do. I'm sure that they have an open house coming up next month that I'm planning to be at. I don't know if I'll do anything on the channel for it, but I always go to help at open houses to run trains, because when you have an open house for the Bay Area Garden Railroad Society, we like to have trains running the whole time so that people who show up can see that. And because there's nothing, it's kind of like at your museum, right, Michelle? You want to have trains running when you're open to the public. Same thing.
Yep.
So
yeah, so it was neat. They ran trains for us at the Fern Creek. So, and then Sydney and I were talking about all the vegetation. We were checking out the trees. They have really nice trees.
Yep.
So.
Well, oh, good. She's posting up their website and stuff. That's good to have.
Good. Okay. Well, it was an epic trip. I think it was basically, was it 6 rides in 5 days? Oh, no, wait. We didn't ride the train at the Sacramento Museum. They had one, but we didn't have time to ride it. We missed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we rode a lot of trains, had a lot of fun. I learned so much, and I have to come back because I didn't do everything.
Yeah, there's a lot more to see and a lot more to do. And frankly, I think it would be worth coming back at a time when you could actually operate on the Fern Creek and Western, because that's also a very fun layout to operate on. They're in the process right now of redoing it for operations too. I don't know if you noticed that or how much Paul talked about that when we were there, but they were adding sessions.
Yeah, that was cool. So he was showing where they were changing the track and stuff. So yeah, that's cool. We have a question about whether or not I saw the South Bay Historic Society depot, and I did. It was beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. We showed that earlier. Yeah. So anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything else here, because that timed out.
We're actually on time. Look at us coming in on time.
I didn't even practice that presentation at all. I just spent hours and hours. And in fairness to me, Trevor, this is so last night when I was putting that presentation together, I looked for Fern Creek and Western shots that I took that day, and I just didn't take any. So I think I need to get some media from you, Michelle, because I have to get the cab ride footage from the GoPro.
Mhm.
Or sorry, it's not cab ride, it's operating footage from the GoPro. And
yeah, I was in control.
Actually, Ethan was, but he let you think you were.
You let me think I was like I had the power.
Yeah, but there's nothing like moving that throttle, though, right? And hearing that.
And
noise.
you know what surprised me the most? That thing could stop on a dime. Like I was like, I better start braking. I better no, that thing, it stops really well.
Well, I mean, we were running light though.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry,
that's
what'd you
true.
say?
Yeah, running light, they'll accelerate, stop just like your car.
Yeah, you're right. It was just like the car, and that was something I didn't expect. So it was interesting.
Right on. Well, normally we would take callers, but we don't really have any time for callers this time.
But thank you, John and Sydney, for hosting us.
Thanks for letting me crash your house.
Yeah, you're welcome.
If you're in the area, if you're ever in the Bay Area, you definitely need to do our list of things or get a hold of John, because there's so much to do. So many cool things to see.
Well, it hasn't happened a whole lot, but anytime train crew members show up, I go out of my way to make sure that they have a good time here. So, and you're welcome. I'm glad that you had a good time. It seemed like everybody involved had a great time. And, it's really fun to, I think I commented about this on the most recent podcast, or if I didn't, it's going to be on the podcast that's coming up that I've been working on, that I really get a lot of enjoyment from bringing people together that should meet, like you and Eric. You really should know each other because you're both executive directors at museums. I'm sure there's plenty of shop talk and best practices you could share with each other to.
And we're probably going to have super interesting conversations about insurance.
Sure. Well, you know what though?
Directors do.
This is stuff that matters though. I mean,
it does. It's really important.
You can probably help each other out with that, So, and I like that. What is this? Yeah,
that's true.
This is what it's about. The trains are an excuse, but the real, I think, enjoyment comes from hanging out with your buddies. So,
yeah, and meeting new rail fans. There's the rail fans are just awesome people. The whole rail community. I shouldn't just say fans because it's people who actually work this too. The rail community is a really amazing group of people, and everywhere we go, we always find kindness.
Yep.
And humor, funny people too.
Yeah. And
not just funny looking.
Yeah. Except me. I'm always funny looking, but I don't want to sound, conveniently kissing butt here, Ethan, but it was also super excellent to meet you and have a chance to hang out that day. Wish we'd been able to stay up there longer. Yeah. Alvin's wiping off his nose. I saw that.
Just another excuse to come up again sometime.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
The drive is beautiful. It's not like it's a bad drive. It is a beautiful drive both ways, the way we went in and the way we went out. I mean, it's just pretty.
It's hard to beat Feather River Canyon as a way to get there, but I had never been north of Truckee on Highway 89 through Sierra Valley, I guess is what they call that.
Yeah, it's the Sierra Valley.
That is just a beautiful drive. That was so worth it. Like, I would not be mad if I had to go that route again to get up there, which probably will because it's faster than Feather River Canyon. But man, the views in Feather River Canyon are just so dramatic, and the bridges and the train track up on the edge of the mountain across the way there. It's just really cool. So anyway, cool.
Well, thanks. This was fun. Thanks for joining us, everyone, to watch our little rail journey. And thanks, Al, for coming on and talking about youth programs at the beginning. So,
Yeah. And thanks, Ethan, for being here to talk about the Western Pacific Museum. I think that's, what can we say? Thanks, everybody.
all right.
Now, here I am at this awkward time when I have to bring that little end thing on. And I wasn't prepared once again.
So he's hunting.
Yeah. Is everybody happy?
Let's all just stare at John. And
Alvin, do you have anything else to say? Ethan, do you have anything else to say? Michelle, do you have anything else to say?
I always have stuff to say, but we'll probably let people go so they can actually have their evenings back.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Before I forget, let's see. I always do these plugs. We have this coming weekend, Wiley's Wanderings, SoCal Ops. So if you don't know what that is, tune in Saturday at 9. It's a operating invitational trip that I took with John Wiley, where we went and operated on 4 layouts over a weekend in, I think it was early June. It'll be a good one. And then the week after that, we have steam trains on the Cumbres and Toltec.
Nice.
Right from last year's epic trip. So I've been waiting to put that one out. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Everybody there, hang out. We'll hang out after the credits are over. Bye.